and was dedicated by U.S. President Warren G. Harding in 1923. It was fully equipped with all the modern home furnishings and technology and drew thousands of visitors in its first year of exhibition. But GFWC already had a lot on their hands with one house, and so just a year later they shut it down and presented the structure to the National Girl Scouts of America for the use for their headquarters until 1955. Nevertheless, GFWC was inspired by the success of the house and realized the potential for these charming Spanish-style stables behind GFWC. And in 1924, the Federation completely renovated the building for food preparation, fine dining, education, and entertainment. National manufacturers outfitted a state-of-the-art kitchen to demonstrate their modern appliances. The horse stalls and booths were converted for electrified for convenient use of tabletop appliances provided by Westinghouse. The center was equipped with kitchenware manufacturers with the latest designs of the 1920s, including gas and electric ranges, double sanitary drain board sink, and kitchen cabinet compartments that could slide out. A list of equipment was made available for clubwomen desiring to install similar shelving in their own homes, and the new facility also provided comfortable sitting areas for those who wanted to read and write and listen to the Victrola, which was some kind of record player, I've been told. Guests, I know this came up last time. Guests could attend lectures and demonstrations on the efficiency of homemaking. I know I've made a reference to this earlier, but it was kind of like the IKEA of the day. You can kind of see the demonstrations going on here, and what the stalls would have looked like all the way over to the left. They were all electrified, and so I guess the stand mixer was some kind of new appliance for the day. And this is John Howard Payne's Long Island Home, a Home Sweet Home author's model here, just in D.C. So the demonstration home became a laboratory for the launching of the National Home Equipment Survey in 1925. The goal was to raise the level of operating efficiency in the homes and to convince Congress that comprehensive statistics regarding the homemaker should be collected periodically by the Census Bureau. The survey also helped evaluate and publicize the need for home improvements. They record on a variety of home equipment, including the number of homes that had water and sewer connections, that were wired for electricity, the telephone, how many had central heating, types of cooking and heating stoves, sinks, baths, any other appliances. They also sought information on recreational activities, such as how many automobiles, radios, pianos, phonographs were used in the home. With the financial backing of a variety of home magazines and associations, and through the hard work and dedication of GFWC clubwomen from across the country, the survey information was collected for nearly 8 million homes. The survey was such a tremendous success that the Census Bureau officially classified homemaking or homemaker as an occupation in the 1930 census. GFWC also produced a 5-part home equipment primer, which you can see here in the center, to educate families on using available utilities to maximize labor saving. So it's really not far off to think that GFWC, the demonstration home, would eventually lead to a complete rethinking of the American home. Now, in 1928, the stables were leased to a new owner, Marie Mount, no relation to Michelle, a Columbia grad who was serving as the College of Home Economics, the Dean of the College of Home Economics at the University of Maryland. Marie had officially named her new restaurant the Iron Gate Inn after the large iron gates leading through the carriageway. The restaurant became, again, another hot spot for the locals with its unique charm and history. The Iron Gate was a hit with food critics as well. Duncan Hines, from his book Adventures in Good Eating, not the Duncan Hines of the cake mix, but, well, I mean, I guess it was named after him, wrote, "An open fire in winter, a quiet garden in summer, together with well-cooked food attract many Washingtonians. Some of the things their many guests frequently demand are tenderloin steaks and a deep dish apple pie, butterscotch rolls, which we'll be serving this afternoon, and pecan mint mousse." Now, over the years, the managers and menus at the Iron Gate Inn changed. I don't know if you can see the menu here. But in 1957, the business was purchased by Charles Shaw, a lingerie entrepreneur. I can't make the connection between lingerie and food, who switched the cuisine to a more Middle Eastern flair. In 1991, Nabil David bought the restaurant and introduced more Mediterranean-infused dishes. Throughout all these changes, its most striking feature remained the purple the vine of purple wisteria planted by Miss William Radford, the first tenants of 1734, and still covers much of the patio today. The Iron Gate Inn would become the longest continually operating restaurant until 2010, but unfortunately closed that year. But the good news is it has opened again, the new Iron Gate Inn. So you get that. You can see on the left the new one. I took that picture a few months ago when it was still under construction. New ownership under the Neighborhood Restaurant Group. It opened, I believe, in November and has been a tremendous success. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over the microphone to Jenn Crovato, who's going to be demonstrating some of her recipes from her cookbook. She actually is a catering director with the Iron Gate and Neighborhood Restaurant Group, so she's going to be talking about her new cookbook and showing you some recipes, and it's really wonderful. She'll be on sale just out back. And so we'll break down this PowerPoint and we'll get that started. Thank you so much.
I'm happy to be here, and Neighborhood Restaurant Group I've joined recently. We also do catering. They have about 16 restaurants now, and I do the catering side of it for them, but we are affiliated with Iron Gate, which is next door. So recently I wrote a cookbook. It was published just last year, actually April 2013, and the name of the book is Olive Oil, Sea Salt, and Pepper. And the idea is that it's very simple, straightforward cooking. I wanted to make something that was very practical, that people could, if anyone was intimidated to go into the kitchen or had not gone into the kitchen for whatever reason, that this book would be so simple and straightforward that you might actually want to pick it up and go in there and cook something. The evolution of food over the past 100 years is, I feel like the whole local, sustainable, organic, that wasn't an option so many years ago. That was all they had. Everything was local, everything was grown organically, and everything was fresh. And then we sort of evolved into this frozen dinners, TV dinners phase, and it was very convenient. And women were starting to go into the workforce and trying to juggle being at home and also at work and getting things done. This was very convenient. So I feel like people sort of stopped cooking as much or learning to cook over the years. And then, of course, we got microwaves, and then it just became even more convenient, and then we stopped turning on the oven altogether. But I feel like now people are reverting back because you see everywhere, fresh, organic, local, and I feel like the direction we went in for a number of years has really taken a toll on our health because people aren't eating as fresh as they should. They're stopping at convenience places because you're trying to get it all done, and it's really hard. So the reason I wrote the book, again, is hopefully gives people a solution to get things done, to be able to be at work during the day. I'm a single mother of 2 kids, so sometimes cooking all day, well now I'm in the office more, but I was cooking all day, so to come home and have to cook, I was like, oh, last thing I want to do. But I would still on Sundays prep a bunch of things and get some things in the fridge so that we didn't have that situation. So today I'm going to demonstrate 2 things from the book, which you're going to be tasting after this. The first thing, and the book is divided into methods of saute, grill, roast, and blanch. It's the only 2 methods that are very easy to demonstrate. In front of you all, obviously, are the saute and the blanch. I don't have a grill and I don't have an oven, so the other 2 are out the door. So the first thing I was going to do is, eventually it's going to be a sweet potato salad. And I know that many times, especially around the holidays, we start using sweet potatoes, and a lot of people like to put marshmallows on top and roast them. There's all sorts of ways that you can do them. I'm going to do it this way in a salad, and I feel like it lightens it up. It fills you up. It has double fiber, and so there's a lot of health benefits in sweet potatoes. I'm keeping the skin on, I just washed it, scrubbed it. The skin doesn't hurt, adds a little bit more fiber. And then I always feel like people are also intimidated by the cutting, and especially for these big, like the butternut squash and the spaghetti squash. They're really big and hard to cut. If you can get it to a point where you cut it and it has a flat side to it, you're not rolling it around on the cutting board, so you're less likely to hurt yourself when you're cutting. But if you just go straight down, cut it into pieces first, and then cut it into strips, and then turn it once more, you can have diced sweet potatoes fairly easily. Part of sauteing is what I say in the book. So there's a opening section to each section. It talks about the method, and then it gives tips on the back. So one of the tips I give with sauteing is to get your pan hot first. So this has been on low for a while. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. But just like you wouldn't go to bake a cake, put it in the pan, and put it in the oven, and then turn the oven on, you don't do that with sauteing either. And a lot of people, they start with the cold pan, they put everything in it, and then they turn it on. So you want to think of it just like you would baking a cake. Get your pan hot first, just like you get your oven hot first. So this will help cook it faster. And sauteing literally means to jump. So you want it to hit the pan, you want it to start to cook, and you should use all of your senses. You're listening, you're smelling, everything is all incorporated in the cooking. So we're going to get this hot first. And then I'm going to add the olive oil. I don't add the oil while I'm getting it hot, because then that's when the smoke comes. If your pan is on there and you see smoke, it's probably not clean, but but you should be able to keep it on the heat without having a smoking pan. So that's it. The theme of the book, olive oil, sea salt, and pepper, is just that. You have your fresh ingredient, you have your olive oil, which is your heart-healthy fat. I feel like you really do need a fat to cook with. It's really hard to cook fat-free. And olive oil is the only oil that is not processed. As long as you buy the extra virgin olive oil. Every other oil has to be processed. It's the only one that can be pressed and consumed immediately after it's pressed. So I have the olive oil, sea salt, and a little pepper. So the idea of the book is, if you have your fresh ingredient and you have these 3 items in your pantry, you can come home and you can cook. So you don't need all the other spices and all the other stuff, all the other hard to find ingredients that maybe you only use a teaspoon of, and then it sits in your cabinet until you throw it away 3 years later. You can avoid all that. So that's the whole idea. These I usually cook for about 10 minutes, and I might lower the heat. The sweet potatoes have a lot of sugar in them, so they can burn easily. So you don't want to keep them on high heat for too long, or else it'll just really get dark on the outside, and it won't be cooked on the inside. But adjusting your heat is part of it. It's just part of cooking. That's why so many cooks prefer the gas versus the electric. Because you can just turn it down, it goes down. The electric, it's still on. It's still hot. Yes.
Why do you use sea salt instead of some other type of salt?
I use sea salt, again, because it's all natural and it's not processed. It also has a stronger flavor, and it's a more intense flavor, so you can use less of it. It still is sodium chloride. It still is sodium chloride, like the iodized salt, but it's not processed. So that's why I choose to use that one again. And the role of salt is not necessarily to make salty. It's more to extract the flavor. So, and I've been to a couple of really amazing meals, and the chefs over-salted the meal, and it destroyed, all the effort going into finding these amazing ingredients and cooking them and all that effort, and then you over-salted it. it's too bad because it destroys stuff. There's nothing you can do about it at that point. So the idea is add as needed, because you can always add to, but you can't take away. Once you've gone too far, you're done. But so anyway, so just add a little bit at a time, and then at the end, taste. When your senses, definitely taste. If you need more, then add it then. But I'm not a fan of just adding, and then at the end you can't do anything about it. So I'm going to let these cook. The next thing I am going to do is talk about blanching. It's another section of the book, and I'm going to do something that my family, we were in Rome when I was 15, and we found this small little restaurant, sort of back alley place, and they had a chalkboard, and they had 2 items on the chalkboard, and this was one of them. So this is what we chose to eat, and we couldn't get enough, and we came back home, we kept making it over and over and over again. And it's something that's so easy and satisfying and cheap as well. So always good to make for a crowd, and especially young kids too that love pasta, but they don't necessarily like their vegetables. Mix them together and hope for the best. They might go for it. So the broccoli, I just peel the outside a little bit slightly, just mostly on where the stem is. If there are some outer leaves like these, I just peel them back and it peels right off. And then you don't need to do such a great job of cutting it up. As long as everything is somewhat the same size. So just like with sauteing or roasting or blanching, any of these cooking methods, if everything is the same size, it will all cook at the same time. And that's why having an even size is so important, because obviously this is going to cook a whole lot faster than this. So you want to make sure that they're primarily all the same size. Nothing important. So I have the water going. Blanching is cooking in salted boiling water, making sure your pot is larger than what it is you're cooking. So I know you've been there where you have all of a sudden you have so much stuff in your pot's this big and you're trying to stuff everything in there. If you ever run into that, just do it in 2 batches rather than shoving everything in, because it ends up taking longer to come back to a boil. And then things overcook, or the inside is still raw and the outside's been in that boiling water for quite some time. So I'm just cutting up like this. We're going to be chopping it up from here, so it doesn't need to look pretty. So for the salt, I add more salt than probably most people would think. Because after this, you're going to pull it out and put it in an ice water bath. And then at the end, you don't really need to add much salt to the dish. Part of doing the blanching process is that it takes on the flavor. It takes on a little bit of salt. It enhances the flavor there. It doesn't become too salty. It doesn't absorb all of that salt I put in there. And it still remains in the water. So I'm just going to drop these in here. And then they cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. And then we'll take it out, we'll put it in the ice water bath, chop it up, and then we'll mix it with the orecchiette. And I'm going to mix up, I did some prep ahead of time. I already cooked the pasta, and we already did a large amount of broccoli ahead of time. We did a large amount of these sweet potatoes that are in the back. But I'm going to cook for everybody the pasta dish up here in front of you. So olive oil is another thing that people are very confused about. And I honestly didn't know what I was getting into when I wrote the book, because there's very serious olive oil connoisseurs out there. And it's kind of like wine, or it is very similar to wine in so many different ways. Number one, you know, a little bit of it is great, but you know, if I were to guzzle this whole bottle, obviously it wouldn't be so fantastic for me. Just like wine, you know, they say one glass a day is okay, but maybe a bottle a day isn't so great. Also, some of the olive oils, and I'm sure you've seen it, you'll look on the shelf and you'll say, well, why is this like $35 and this one is only $5? And there's such a range on them, and you'll notice that the 365, and I do use the 365 brand from Whole Foods, it says cold processed, which I'm not sure what that means. But you want to look for the cold pressed extra virgin olive oil. And what that means is under cold temperatures, it's harvested, it's pressed, there's no additional heat or anything added to it to yield to get a higher yield. And that's why it ends up costing more. And then sometimes they have these, you know, certain sections, just like a vineyard would, of their grapes, where it's their, you know, they're really high quality grapes. Olive oil has their high quality olives, and you know, they're harvested at the perfect temperature. It doesn't yield that much, but it has really high quality health benefits. That's where you get your health benefits from. Is a really good extra virgin olive oil that's cold pressed. So I will cook with extra virgin olive oil that's slightly less expensive, just because it might say extra virgin, but maybe it's not cold pressed. Maybe, you know, they added a little bit of heat to it to press it, get a higher yield. And then the more expensive stuff I use to finish with. In other words, if I grill a piece of fish or a piece of meat and I just want to finish it with some good extra virgin olive oil, if I'm eating a salad, I don't heat this because they've done such an amazing job of not adding heat to it to retain those health benefits, that I don't want to put it in a pan and cook with it. So, and it's too expensive, I would go broke. So, the broccoli, I'm just going to pull out of the boiling water and shock it in ice. So it does a couple things by doing this. You stop the cooking, and it retains its nutrients, and it stays bright green. I think a lot of people have heard if you put baking soda or baking powder or something in it keeps it green too. You don't need to do any of that. Just put the sea salt in there and cook it for a few minutes, shock it in the ice water, it stops the cooking. If you're doing something like a stir fry, and I'm sure you've done this, and you try to put the different vegetables in, and by the time you finish cooking it, they're somewhat brown and mushy. In order to get everything cooked through, it's sort of lost its green color, and a lot of the nutrients are cooked out of it. If you blanch and shock your vegetables prior to sauteing any of your other, whatever you're going to cook in your stir fry, you do your stir fry, and then after, when it's all finished and ready to go, you throw in your green vegetables, you warm them through, and then you serve it. You'll have beautiful bright green vegetables in your stir fry. So, from here, move this out of the way. You only want to keep it in the ice bath just until it's chilled. You shouldn't keep it in there too long. It'll just keep taking in water. And the nutrients will continue to go back into the water. Remove this off. Another big pot, because there's a lot. So I'm just going to rough chop this up. And into small pieces. A lot of people at the end of it, they think it's there's a pesto on the pasta. It's not that at all. It's just the broccoli, and it's always very popular. So the other thing I do is in the fridge there's a container with olive oil and garlic. Sarah's getting from me. I put it in the fridge, and I forgot to bring it out. So I'm always using garlic. Garlic is one of the third things. In the front matter of the book, I talk about the health benefits of olive oil, of sea salt, of black pepper, and then of garlic. Because even though it's not in the title, I feel like there are so many health benefits to it, and I do add it to a lot of things that I cook. Thank you. So, because I'm using it all the time, I think it's a real pain to peel the garlic every time and chop it, and then garlic's on everything. It's on the cutting board, it's on the knife, and it's sticky, and it's a mess. So what I do is I peel a bunch ahead of time, and I'll put it in a food processor and puree it with some olive oil, and I put it in a jar, and I keep the jar in the fridge. And this will keep a month, 2 months. As long as you keep olive oil on top of it, it stays really great in the fridge. As soon as if you need it, you just pull it out, you scoop it out, you put it in the pan, and it's done. It's really convenient. And I don't know if you've had any of the stuff in the store that they sell that's already pre-done. I don't know what that is. It doesn't smell like garlic. It doesn't taste like garlic. So doing it yourself is recommended. So I'm gonna use a lot more than you would just because I have a big batch here. But when I went to culinary school, I was getting sick, and my mom told me it was because I probably wasn't having enough garlic. She always cooked with garlic. And the other thing is, if you're cooking and you add it to a pan and you realize I'm not ready yet, and it's going to burn, pull your pan off the heat and add some water to it. If you throw some water into it, it'll stop it from burning. Always good to know, little things I've picked up in the kitchen over the years. So anyway, you just add it, and the broccoli's already cooked at this point. So all you're doing is you're just adding a little bit of flavor to it. I'm bringing it back up to temperature. From here, you just add the pasta, mix it all together. Done. I add a little bit of Parmesan cheese and finish it with extra virgin olive oil, and finished. You guys will be able to try and let me know what you think. But that's pretty much it. I didn't know if I'm going to finish up here while I maybe answer some questions, but I didn't know, does anyone have any questions?
So what kind of black pepper do we use?
So I use black pepper, whole black peppercorns, and they say, I did a lot of research on this, the outside of the peppercorn will increase your metabolism. I don't know how much you have to use, but they say a little bit on your food, helps with your digestion, but it also will increase your metabolism. And it's much better to buy the whole peppercorns with the grinder because it has an indefinite shelf life. The stuff you buy in the store that's pre-ground, you don't know how long it's been ground for, and it only lasts for about 3 months before it sort of loses its, its pepper smell and taste and everything. So, yeah, best to use the grinder. Are there any other questions? Yes.
I had heard that the first pressing, or what did you call it, the cold water?
Yes.
That's the first pressing of the olive oil.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. And then from there is the second pressing. So when you go to the store and you see like just the regular olive oil or pure olive oil or light olive oil, those come from from the second pressing, but they're also mixed with other oils. So especially the light. The light has very little actual olive oil in it. It's highly processed and it's mixed with other oils. And you see the light and you think, oh, it's less fat or something, but it's not at all, and it's actually something that you should probably leave on the shelf and stay away from. But the regular olive oil and pure olive oil, it does come from the second pressing, and it is more processed. Any other questions?
And the butterscotch.
What kind of oil should you use if you're baking? Sometimes you don't want that olive oil taste in your baking.
Right. I would use, not the real, because some of it is very pungent and strong and almost peppery in the back of your throat. I would use the lesser quality, just the regular olive oil for that. Because a lot of times it calls for vegetable oil or canola oil as well. So you do want something a little bit lighter, it's not as strong.
Does your dish have a name and is it on the menu for Iron Gate?
Oh, no. Tony Chittum. Tony Chittum is the chef at Iron Gate, and he's actually bringing over a Greek, it's like a Greek donut after we're finished, so we can all taste. But we're all affiliated with Neighborhood Restaurant Group, and I'm with 550 Events, so I do the catering, on-premise catering, and also we do corporate drop catering as well. So I'm with them, but we are, all under the same umbrella group with Iron Gate. Yes.
What's the shelf life of the olive oil, and where should you keep your olive oil?
So it should be kept in a dark, that's why a lot of the bottles they make with the dark, so it shouldn't be exposed to much light or heat. And once you open it, it's about 6 months from the time you open it. I've never had a problem with that. My kids drink it, but
Is it okay to put it in those cute little tins, like cans, they have for the olive oil?
yeah, definitely. And if you've seen, there's actually a lot of olive oil stores that are opening around the country now, and those are great to go into, and they can actually tell you the press date of when the olives were pressed. And they're all kept in those in the tins for you to put into the bottle. So yeah, there's no problem doing that. Anybody else? All right. Well, part of the subtitle of my book is called "Healing with Fresh Foods," and I chose that name because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I really feel like a lot of the health issues that we're facing now in this country can be cured just by eating fresh. So that was the name, and I felt like it was a good first step for giving people a solution on how to really simply cook and eat fresh. But that's it. That's all I have, unless...
Thank
All right.
you so much.
Just a moment, yeah, this should be
Not quite.
just like one more minute. Keep coming. Watch it.
Oh, Mama, how beautiful.
Sweet potato. Bucamanas are coming. Little donuts should be coming from the Iron Gate downstairs. So we have a pasta dish, salad, we have butterscotch rolls.
Oh, wow. Iron Gate. For me?
I know, I love sweet potatoes. We eat sweet potatoes all the time. They're so good